Hello and welcome to my channel. If you are a subscriber, welcome back. If you haven't subscribed yet, please don't forget to do so. It really means the world to me. So in today's video, I want to talk about 10 luxury designer bags that I'm glad I didn't buy. So at some point in the past, I was strongly considering buying some of these handbags, but for whatever reason, I actually didn't do that. And now, sitting here in 2025, I am really glad I didn't buy those bags. So I decided I'm going to share my thoughts on this channel just in case maybe you're considering to purchase some of those bags, or maybe you also considered purchasing them at some point in the past and you didn't. So maybe you are going to find my thoughts relatable. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into these bags. So first up, I have the Dior book tote. So I just remember how incredibly popular that bag was when it first appeared. And I would see it everywhere. People were traveling with it. I would see it by a swimming pool or maybe on the seaside. And at some point, I just really wanted to buy a Dior book tote just because everybody who looked cool and stylish seemed to have that bag. But then the prices started going up, and increasingly, I just did not want to pay that much money for a Dior book tote, for a bag that wasn't even a leather bag. And last year, when we found out that allegedly it costs only $57 to actually produce a Dior book tote, now looking at that, I am really glad I never spent my money on a Dior book tote. And besides, several years ago, maybe 3 years ago by now, I actually bought this tote. I show it a lot. It is the Rive Gauche tote from Saint Laurent. And I'm really happy that I did. And for me, this tote basically has the exact same purpose in my wardrobe as a Dior book tote would have had. So I feel like there is no point to really double up. This tote is great for travel and for seaside. Then I also bought another tote from Miu Miu that is similar but different. So I really have no need for yet another tote that is not made of leather in my collection. So for this reason, I'm really glad I never purchased a Dior book tote. And by the way, my name is Lisa and I'm your guide to savvy luxury shopping no matter where in the world you are. Subscribe to my channel to learn more about strategic luxury shopping with the emphasis on quality and timelessness of your items. So next up is the Louis Vuitton Neverfull. I know a lot of you will probably hate me for saying this because I constantly hear people saying that Louis Vuitton Neverfull is a classic bag. And okay, I agree, it is a classic, but it is just so incredibly overdone. If I purchased a Louis Vuitton Neverfull 16, 17 years ago when I was first getting into this luxury designer game, I would have probably worn it quite a bit back in the day, but I just don't see myself wearing that bag now. For me, especially when we look at the monogram versions, this is just way too big of a bag with a lot of monogram on it. And once again, I just feel it is so saturated, it is so overdone. We see those bags so often that I personally want to spend my money somewhere else. I want to buy something different. Also, one of the reasons I didn't buy a Louis Vuitton Neverfull, even though I kept seeing it everywhere all the time, is because back in, I think, 2016, I actually bought this tote bag from Stella McCartney. And I know it is different. It is a Stella McCartney bag. It's not a Louis Vuitton bag. But to me, it basically does the same thing as a Louis Vuitton Neverfull would do. Basically, it is a bag that I can use for travel. It is a bag that I could use for work, carrying my laptop. So I feel like there's really no need for me to also have a Louis Vuitton Neverfull. Anyway, I'm glad that I never spent my money on a Louis Vuitton Neverfull because nowadays I think I would not be using that bag at all. I mean, maybe I would be able to resell it on a pre-loved market and get my money back, but that's a bit too much hassle. So now, in hindsight, sitting here in 2025, I'm just glad I never spent the money. So next up on my list is actually a newer bag, and it is the Ferragamo Wanda tote bag. Now, I feel like when that bag appeared, I think a couple of years ago, it was just really popular for a moment. I saw it everywhere on social media, online, on the internet, in stores. And I think because I saw that bag so much, I started thinking that I wanted to buy it. It also looked a little bit different, kind of cool. I liked some of the colors, like the oranges and the reds and the blues, and the bag just looked really cool. I do not know what else I can say. And then I also started seeing this bag on sale. And I thought, wow, this is great. I could get this bag on sale, save some money, and it would make me feel even better. But when the hype died down, I also stopped thinking about that bag. And now, looking back at it, I'm actually wondering, why did I ever even liked that bag? I do not like patent leather. So, and Wanda tote bags pretty much came in patent leather. I also do not find that bag to be particularly well made. It just looks a little bit thin and a little bit flimsy. And basically, I feel like there is nothing really interesting about that bag. I feel like the shape is all right. The shape actually has longevity in it, but there's nothing special about that bag. So I really feel like at some point I was influenced to buy that bag. And I'm really glad I actually said no and I decided not to purchase it. And by the way, when I was kind of doing research for this video, I was looking online and you cannot find the Wanda tote bag on the Ferragamo website anymore. You can still find it on like MyTheresa and Farfetch, but this basically tells me that Ferragamo is going to stop making this bag, which means it was just kind of like a quick and whimsical popular item that really doesn't have that much longevity with it. So I'm really glad I didn't buy that tote bag. Okay, now I want to talk about the Saint Laurent Loewe camera bag. I feel like the social media has been talking about this bag for about, I don't know, 7 to 10 years now. And I think back in the day, people were really attracted to this bag because you could actually buy it for under 1,000 US dollars. But now, when I look at this bag in hindsight, once again, it's not a very interesting bag. I mean, you're basically paying $1,000, and now that bag actually costs over $1,000. So you're paying that money to just get a logo and a simple camera bag shape. I don't necessarily have anything against the bag shape, but at the end of the day, it is just a camera bag. And for that amount of money, I would rather get something that is a little bit more unique and a little bit more interesting. I feel like if I would have bought that bag 7 or 10 or 5 years ago, I really would not be wearing that bag as much right now. And I'm getting really tired of the YSL logo also. I have quite a few, maybe 3 or 4 different bags and clutches with the YSL logo, and I noticed that I'm using them less and less and less. So I'm basically really happy that I didn't spend my money on just like a simple camera bag with a YSL logo. All right, next up, I want to mention Hermés Lindy Bag. So when I was buying my Hermès 2424 bag, which I really love and I really treasure, I was also offered an Hermès Lindy Bag. And generally speaking, I'm a big fan of Hermes bags, and oftentimes I feel like if I'm offered the bag, I just really want to get it. But when it comes to the Lindy bag, I do not know, there's just something really awkward and strange about the shape of the bag. It is just too much of a square for me, and I don't feel like I would be able to style it very well. I just think that the bag is not very versatile. It looks a little awkward, and it is not the type of a bag that I really see myself wearing. So I'm really glad that I didn't go with the notion that I should be taking any Hermes bag that is offered to me, and I actually said no to the Lindy bag. And those bags are not cheap either. So I'm really happy that I didn't spend my money on something that ultimately I don't like very much. And I'm so glad that instead I actually got a bag that I'm using and loving a lot. And this is the Hermes 2424 bag. All right, the next bag I'm glad I didn't buy is the Chanel 22 bag. So a similar story, right? When the bag comes out and it becomes so popular and everybody seems to be wearing it, I feel like I get attracted to the bag and I start thinking that I also need that bag. So I remember being at a Chanel boutique in Istanbul and I saw the Chanel 22 bag, like the regular size, the first size that it came out in, and that bag was actually in tweed. And I was like, oh my God, this is great. You know, Chanel, tweed. Tweed is so synonymous with Chanel. And I thought I could get this Chanel 22 bag, but in tweed. So it looks a little bit different and interesting. And it still keeps me kind of on trend together with all the, I don't know, cool Instagram people. But I really don't remember the price point at this stage. I think it was still somewhere around 5 or 6 thousand US dollars. And standing there in the boutique, I actually caught myself thinking, why do I want to spend that much money on a tweed Chanel bag that is not a classic design? It basically looked like a sack made out of tweed with the word written out Chanel on the front of the bag. Again, you know, as I said before in this video, there was nothing special and interesting about that bag. I felt like I wanted to buy it simply because of this scarcity mentality. I saw the bag, I knew everybody was wearing it, and I wanted to get it. But now, you know, looking back, and this was perhaps 3 or 4 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, but now looking back at it, I'm just really glad I didn't spend the money. Once again, I do not think I would be carrying the tweed bag very often, especially in that particular design. If I'm going to buy a tweed bag from Chanel, I feel like it should be a classic flap or something really similar, not a Chanel 22. So now, once again, I'm really glad that I didn't follow my impulse and I didn't buy the Chanel 22 bag in tweed at the boutique when I saw it. So next up is Loewe Puffer Mini Goya bag. So I think the bag is beautiful. I still feel like these type of bags are actually relevant nowadays. But when I was considering buying that particular bag, I was kind of comparing it to a bag from Alexander McQueen. And, you know, because I live in the real world, I didn't have the money to buy both of those bags. So I had to make a choice. And I chose my Alexander McQueen bag. And I'm actually really happy that I did because I feel like for me personally, when it comes to my aesthetic, my style, and my preferences, Alexander McQueen bag fits much better into my wardrobe and my day-to-day life. And I always wanted to have an Alexander McQueen bag with the skull detail, but I never really spent too much time thinking about a Loewe puffer bag. So when comparing the two, I'm just really glad that I made a choice in favor of the bag that was ultimately more suited to my wardrobe, my aesthetic, and my personal style. Yes, just to illustrate, this is actually the McQueen bag that I bought when I was at the airport in Istanbul, and they had a couple of bags that were on sale. And it was this bag from McQueen and the Loewe Mini Puffer Goya bag. And even though, let's say, Loewe actually felt like more of a high quality leather, still, because of the aesthetics and because of my preferences, and because I always wanted to have at least one bag from Alexander McQueen in my collection, I'm really happy that I chose this bag. I'm a big fan of this knuckle detail right here. And for me, basically, this bag was a better bag to buy. Actually, the sales associate that I was shopping with was saying that the Loewe bag is a better purchase because it is a high quality bag, it is better leather. But once again, I'm just really happy that instead of the Goya bag, I chose this particular bag from McQueen. Next up is Gucci Dionysus Super Mini Bag. So I looked at these bags several times, even back in the day when they were actually under 1,000 US dollars. So once again, just a very appealing price point. Nowadays, I looked at the Gucci website and you actually cannot buy this bag for under $1,000. They all retail for about 1,100 or 1,200 US dollars. Anyway, I remember looking at this super mini Dionysus bags and just thinking that they are so cute and so adorable and so dressy. And I would just imagine the many different ways that I could use that bag. However, for me personally, those bags are just so incredibly small. I think, and I'm not sure, but I think you can fit an iPhone 14 Pro into those bags, but it is really such a tight fit. Like you would actually have to spend some time fitting the iPhone into that bag. And then maybe you have a little bit of space left for like keys and a lip gloss, and that's it. And I just really do not like the super small, mini, tiny bags, especially when they are so fiddly. Like, If a bag fits a phone, to me, it should be kind of an easier fit when you don't have to stand there and fiddle your phone inside the bag and then just kind of hope that when you take it out, nothing else like falls out of the bag. So I'm just really glad I didn't go for the skewed factor and I didn't purchase one of those bags because I see that I would not really be using such an uncomfortable bag. By the way, the larger sizes of the Dionysus bag are still really appealing to me. I think they look very classic. I know they're very heavy bags, but I think they do have the staying power. Another bag I am glad I didn't buy from Gucci is Gucci GG Super Mini Top Handle Bag. So those bags were retailing for 1,600 US dollars, and they basically looked like the mini or small Boston bags, or they, generally speaking, looked like a speedy bag from Louis Vuitton. And I think the reason I was attracted to those bags is really twofold. First is the price point, because increasingly it becomes more and more difficult to find a reasonably priced designer bag, so those Gucci bags looked really appealing. And second is just the colors and the overall cuteness of the bag. I really liked that bag in the light pink color. And I actually looked at it at least twice. And I was so close to buying that particular bag. But looking back at it, I'm glad I didn't. I mean, 1,600 US dollars is still quite a considerable amount of money to spend on a bag, and I feel that there are much better options out there. Then the second point, as I mentioned before, I actually don't like the logo and the monogram too much. And these particular bags, they were in leather, but they had the GG embossed on them all through the leather. So I think that for me right now, this is just a little bit too much logo. And also, this pink color, again, I was so attracted to it, but looking at it now, I feel like this is such a juvenile color that's maybe a little bit more suitable for like younger girls and teenagers. So I just don't feel that I would be incorporating that bag a lot into my wardrobe. So again, I just caught myself thinking that the bag is cute, it is reasonably priced, but at the end of the day, those are not good enough reasons to actually purchase a handbag. And the last bag I want to talk about is the very popular Miu Miu Wander Bag. So I actually looked online and I counted, and I think this bag right now comes in 6 different sizes, with the smallest size being like the nano bag, which is basically a bag charm. And then we've got the mini, the small, the medium, and so on. And there are so many colors and so many iterations of this bag. And I feel like we see it everywhere on social media, with influencers, online, in marketing campaigns. So the internet is very much saturated with this particular bag. And I think because of this, I'm actually really liking it. I checked it out when I was shopping in Istanbul several months ago, and I liked the bag. It wasn't the type of bag that I wanted to buy during that particular shopping trip, but I did like the bag. But now, looking at everything that I see online, I'm really getting a sense that this particular handbag is not going to have a staying power. It is very popular right now and everybody is pushing it, but give it another maybe year or two, and I feel like we're going to sort of forget about it. And at that stage, that Wonder Bag is going to look so incredibly dated, at least in my humble opinion. So I'm really glad that I didn't buy it back when I was looking at it in Istanbul, and I'm glad that I didn't buy it kind of at the end of 2024. I think I really should sit this one out and perhaps buy something from Miu Miu that has a little bit more longevity, like some of the other bags that they have that are more sort of like square or rectangular in their shape. And I feel like that shape is a little bit more classic, similar to the shape of the plume bag from Hermès, and therefore is probably a better way to spend money. And by the way, I also have a tote bag from Miu Miu, the Ivy tote bag, which I reviewed in one of my recent videos. And even that bag, I feel, is just a better purchase from Miu Miu, simply because it is so much more understated as compared to the Wonder bag. Anyway, I was really considering purchasing the Wonder Bag back at the end of 2024, but at the end of the day, looking at it now, I'm really happy that I didn't, because I think these bags are just oversaturated at the moment, and so give it another year or two and they are going to be much less popular. Anyway, that's it from me today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found my thoughts helpful. And before you go, check out this playlist about handbags next. In this playlist, I put together all of the videos that I have made about handbags. But for now, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here. Take care and bye-bye.